Reflection Comics. What's up, is us again, cracking bags, pulling boards. Every page just got them leaning like the Flash, running forward. This that absolutely about to break it down in the store. By the end you looking like you were Galactus. More, I need more for the culture, grab the hammer, now I'm tour. Got the red like Matt Murdock on the path I gotta forge. Culture, comics.
What's up? This is Rico and Cody, and we're here to present you a little bit of comic talk. And today's episode is going to be a wrap-up, review, argument, joust, and maybe some verbal abuse about Daredevil Born Again season finale, and just overall about the season 1. I know my main man Cody has a lot to say. Up the stairways to the shop, he just was exploding with so much excitement about this show, right? And I'll let you just take the floor and let me know how you feel. Let me know how you really feel about this.
This is the finale episode. Seriously, man, nothing happened. The show is done.
Yeah.
Like, the most interesting thing that it teased was at the very end of the show, and I'm like, all right, we're gonna get one big fight scene. We're gonna end the season. Nah, come back next time. Come back next year.
Come back next time.
Next year. You have to wait a year for season 2.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. You had one fight scene that I enjoyed it when I could see it, but other than that, this whole episode top to bottom, not only did I not like this episode, this dropped my ranking for the whole show. And
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding, not even a little bit either. I had given the show a 4 out of 10 up to this point. The show is now a 2 out of 10. Or a 1 out of 10.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
We'll get into the reasons, but what did you think?
Yeah.
What did you think?
Well, I really liked the last episode. I really liked it. There was some things I questioned, some things I did dislike, but overall I enjoyed it. I know you did not like the fact that they made Punisher somewhat comical. The way he was poking fun at Daredevil, like he called him Nightgown Man. I thought it just that cracked me up, because that was the last thing I would ever expect him to say. But he didn't say it in a jokeful way. He said it in a very an asshole way, and not once but twice did Frank get called an asshole by Matt, and not once but twice did he goes, "Yeah, you're right, I am an asshole," and it shows a lot about their how they interact together. How, to me, it's like the Punisher wishes he did not take that first kill, and he was more like Daredevil. But at the same time, like, I feel as though if Matt Murdock takes that next step and intentionally kills, he's going to be Punisher. He will be like a Punisher. And I think that's something that Matt really doesn't want. He's afraid of it. He can see himself in those shoes, but he doesn't. But he fights the urge to not be that. At least that's what I'm getting. That's what I got out of that. I did like the fact that little quick story, or that story, that quick pump up that Punisher gave to Matt right before that fight scene, when he was like, "I'm letting you know, when they come in here, I'm chopping them up. I'm not going to hold back." And it just showed, which a lot of fans would say that's not how Punisher is.
Punisher would not give a warning. He's just going to go to work.
But I like the fact that it's not just him pumping you up, or not him pumping himself up for the scene, but I took it as, all right, man, he's pumping the audience up to get ready. And there's something big's about to go down. This is the season finale, so there's always some kind of big boss battle. And but just to wrap up what I'm saying, so I can give Cody back the floor, I do appreciate that the villain won. Every episode, every season, at the end of every movie, we always get the hero prevails and saves the city or saves the girl. Not this time. Not this time. Punisher lost. Really, Punisher lost, bro.
He planned that out. You do understand that, right?
You plan an ass whooping like that? You tough, man.
He walked into a group of military-trained individuals and cop-trained individuals who are using non-lethal rounds
Yeah.
on the Punisher.
Well, because
Makes
they wanted to
sense of
flip him.
that.
They wanted to flip him. That's why. They even said
And
it.
after they figured out that they weren't going to flip him, you're going to tell me that they're not just
Yeah,
going to
they
put a
just
9
put-
through his brain?
They just put him in a cage, which, if you watch the after credit scene,
Oh,
the
my
worst
goodness.
idea ever.
The worst cop
Like,
ever.
like the worst idea.
I
on
feel
the
bad for the
planet.
guy.
He goes, yeah, come here and shake my hand. What's your name? He ripped his arm off. Why would you trust the Punisher, especially in a cage? The last thing you want to do is trust him in a cage. If he was out in the street, I would give him more trust than in a cage. And then also wanted to tap on, why did we not get the Defenders at the last episode? Instead, we got a bartender, a retired over-the-hill cop, BB, and a bunch of other ragtag civilians. We should have gotten maybe Peter Parker. I know that's pushing it.
No.
but
You're
definitely,
right. You're right.
But definitely, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist should have been over there in the corner. Luke Cage should have been there at the bar saying "Sweet Christmas." You know, we should have gotten that. And also I was hoping Stick would show up, but I remember Stick died, right? Did he die? I know he died in the comics, but they brought him back. Did he die in the Daredevil Netflix version? I know he got his arm chopped off, and you know what would have been cool? We all thought Elektra died, but at the very last season, she was in that rock egg. She wasn't really herself, but she came back as a bad guy. It would have been cool to have that come back again. Yeah.
No,
And
they
as much
already
as
did that.
As well, it would have just been better than
Why
that.
do it again?
Anything would have been better than that, bro.
But yeah, the next Spider-Man movie is going to be called I Stayed Home.
Yeah. Well,
New York is in chaos.
Yeah.
He's at home sleeping.
Well, because it didn't happen in Queens. It happened
It's
in
all
Manhattan.
of New York.
Yeah. But
I mean, I guess I could go for the whole he's now your neighborhood Spider-Man, but
He is.
still. Like, he went and fought with the Avengers
Yeah.
to save the universe.
Well,
If
that-
New York is in trouble, he's not just going to sit there and twiddle his thumbs.
True. But then it's like, okay, we've got to raise the question to what happens to Kate Bishop. Is she still over in the West Coast? Is she in the West Coast? I know Camilla Khan's at the West Coast right now. Are they
Where's
doing...
Hawkeye? Where is
Well,
any
Hawkeye
of these
doesn't live in New
people?
York. Hawkeye lives in a ranch out. We don't even know. It's up, maybe upstate. Maybe it's out west. Maybe it's Colorado. But we don't know. All we know is he lives in a secluded ranch. So I can understand what, because I've heard that question as well. Well, where's Hawkeye? Well, at home, retired. Exactly how he ended.
These people still care about the people, though. They still
True.
care about the city. And it's like,
True.
you talked about the Defenders. I didn't even think about them. I was just looking at this ragtag group of people, and I'm like, this is your losers club that you're going to beat Wilson Fisk with.
Oh yeah,
BB Urich.
they're so confident about it.
She should have been taking a dirt nap 7 episodes ago.
Yeah. What do you think about
You want to take it back to the beginning?
to the beginning of the episode,
Yeah.
like the beginning of the last episode?
No, this episode. Well, you
Well,
can
yeah.
take to the end of the last and the beginning. Of
Yeah,
the
what's up?
All right, so the gunshot at the ball
Yeah.
turned out to be nothing. Matt just walks it off.
I don't think he's walked at all, but I do
Buck,
get.
Buck comes to kill him in the hospital, and he literally gets up and walks out.
Okay, I see.
He
what you're
literally
Yeah.
He's kind of sore in the shoulder for the whole episode, but it was nothing serious.
saying. No, that whole entire big, breakout with dead bullseye. Excuse me. It was for nothing. Like, okay, he's out, but that was all a waste. Like, to me, it had the whole build up to him leaving was a waste of time. It could have been. It was lazy writing in a sense to me. Like,
Absolutely.
like you take the time to have that negotiating meeting, or that meeting, that 48 hour meeting. You know what I mean? And with Matt Murdock and Bullseye, just for him to headbutt his face into the table, just for him to get his arm free at the dentist's office, to spit a tooth in someone's face to kill them, to break out without a mask on, to sit next to cops, to get out, to all of a sudden maybe find his old stash, to go to the ball, to try to assassinate Fisk, just to hit Matt Murdock, to never be seen again. It's like, well, why didn't he finish the job?
You see him at the end of this episode, and they're kind of implying, and then of course there's behind the scenes stuff to imply.
Yeah,
they're going to work together. Bullseye and Matt are going to be working together as part of this taking down Fisk. There's behind the scenes stuff. You can see them. They're both jumping out a window together, in an action scene.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Why would Matt ever work with him? It's not like a Winter Soldier situation where Bullseye didn't have a say in the matter. No, he chose to. He wanted to get out of prison,
mm-hmm.
and he chose to kill him. He chose to take the contract. And then just past that point, after we get the ball, we have a sit-down conversation between Fisk and Vanessa, where they're talking about, okay, Matt took a bullet for me, we're going to spin this to make the public on my side.
Yeah.
And he's talking about how he's going to make a power grab, this is essentially what he's always wanted. I thought that the show was at least going to have somebody change. Nobody changes. Matt doesn't change his mind. When he decides to become when Matt decides to become Daredevil again, he just says F it and puts on the suit. There was no thought process to it. Turns out that Kingpin hadn't changed his mind. He wasn't trying to go straight and be a businessman, not a businessman, a politician.
Mm-hmm.
No, he was just always the Kingpin. He was just hiding it.
Yeah.
Nobody changes in the show. There is no growth, no character arc. Nobody.
Well, all right. When it comes down to Kingpin, I think he just showed to me, this was what I got out of Kingpin becoming the governor or mayor of New York, from the criminal underworld that he was at. What's the difference? He's a crooked politician.
It makes me think of
at the end of the day, he found out, or he figured out the hard way. The way he was is the only way he's going to be able to be who he needs to be the mayor of New York City. I'm not saying that will work for everybody, but him trying to go soft, he lost respect. He couldn't be the criminal underworld and he couldn't be the mayor of New York at the same time if he wanted to go this angle. So he's like, you know what, screw it. I'm going to be exactly who I'm meant to be on both sides of the spectrum. And I'm not going to just keep the respect that I have for these underlords or whatever, thugs, tracksuit mafia or whoever, but I'm also going to gain and demand the respect from the politician aspect of it. And the only way I can do this is if I have my own police system, if I take the NYPD and kind of undercut them and put in another I don't call them the Punishers, they're the Pretenders. That's what I call them, the Pretenders, the Pretender Force. And yeah, put this fraction of martial law army in control of New York. So now he is a mega boss. He's the mayor. He runs a whole city in the most villain-like way, and his henchmen are now trained professionals that are allowed to shoot and you're allowed to be fired upon. No one can stop him from that, and I think that was really smart of him. But did he have a character arc? No, he is what he is. It was a learning curve, but he is still who he is.
The learning curve is that he should have been who he was to begin with. He went backwards.
Yeah, he thought he needed to go straight.
Sometimes going backwards is fine,
mm-hmm.
But the reason why I bring an issue with it is because nobody has an arc in this show. Honestly, I cannot think of a character in this show that has a genuine growth or a change of character that's any kind of meaningful.
Well, it's kind of like, if you think about it, he's kind of like his dad. He's an actual product of his dad. On the flashbacks that they had on Netflix series, when they showed Kingpin as a kid, his dad was all in the neighborhood, trying to be mayor or trying to be some kind of person of importance. And he knew in order for that, he needed to be right by the people. In order to be right by the people, you cannot be feared. You have to be respected, but you cannot. More importantly, you cannot be feared. And the one thing that his dad had a problem with was he was a very violent and temperamented man. So it was really hard for him to sway that. He would be very violent in the house, but very proactive outside the house. Well, what I got out of that with Wilson Fisk, is he wants to change New York. I believe in his heart and his mind, he wants a better New York. But he also knows he's going to have to do some dirt to do it.
It was a front.
And if he has to squish him, he squashed the dude's head.
That was so stupid.
That was the best.
He's not Superman.
No, he's not Superman.
Do you recognize the amount of force that it would take to do something like that?
I think it was a good, I guess you would say, call back to him crushing a dude's head in the car door.
In a car door is more understandable.
Yeah, but like
he's hitting his head with the car door.
Yeah.
He's weakening the integrity of his skull.
Yeah, but
with
he's
this,
known
he
for
just
it,
goes
man.
like that.
He's known for crushing your head in a car door. He's known for crushing your head, and that's what he just became a skull crusher. And hey, man, I'm sorry. Good TV. Bad.
Good TV.
It's good TV, but it's not. All right. This is what I've realized about a lot of Spider-Man fans, Marvel fans in general. But to break it down to a bunch of Punisher fans, Matt Murdock fans, Spider-Man fans, X-Men fans, if it's not written to your favorite issue or storyline, it's not good TV, or it's a bad it's a bad description of the character. And if you just take the show for what it is and not try to find what makes your coolest Punisher or your coolest version of Daredevil good in the show, then you're always going to break down the show and dislike it. And there's so many different volumes, of Punisher and Daredevil and Kingpin. So many different storylines and so many different writers that like to put different personas or different value to the character. And what I've realized about a lot of Marvel shows, especially the Disney TV, they don't stick true to the comics to the aspect of character development. They tend to take a bunch of different storylines to make one character. And now you're getting a character that is not like anything in the comics. It just has subtle hints of reminiscences of what the comic books were or are. And now you're getting a character that you're not going to like because that character does not remind you of Volume 1 or Volume 2 or Tom King or such and such of the Punisher. Not saying Tom
I don't
King.
want to be reminded of Tom King.
I'm just or Tom Taylor, by the way. But
or Jason Aaron.
That's a whole nother thing. Tom Taylor, what is wrong with you? But anyway,
to speak to that for just a
Yeah,
second,
yeah.
I get what you're saying, that they're trying to be faithful to the most comics, or they're trying to pull in little strings and threads from here and there. But the problem is that when you meet all those threads together and you have this new version of the character, they're watered down. You have this new version of the Punisher, like you were talking about. You were right on the money about your read of the Punisher for this show. They are making this version of the Punisher out like he wishes that he never took that first kill. That he can never go back to be... No. That's not the Punisher. The Punisher is, my mission is justice. If you hurt people, I'm going to split your head open.
Well, that's just one. That's one storyline of the Punisher. That's not today's storyline.
That's the no, because they don't want the character to succeed anymore. He's a black eye on Marvel, according to them, because he's liked by the wrong people. I'm sorry.
Who?
This part of Daredevil Born Again's whole commentary is you have the people that are wearing the Punisher skull. And we finally got to my preachy moment. I thought that it was going to be preachy. Instead, he just calls them clowns 4 times and then gets punched in the face.
I really thought he was going to really... Well, no, he should have said exactly what he said. Because the Punisher...
What a biting rejoinder.
Like,
clowns.
Like, the Punisher... I don't think the Punisher enjoys what he does. To a certain degree, I feel like that is just what he is now, and he's accepted it. But at the same time, you say like the Punisher, he's a patriot. At least the purest form of Frank Castle is a patriot.
No.
And yeah, he is. He joined up the armed forces, got discharged, and came back. Yes, I know the story of the Punisher, but he will lay his life down for the person next to him when he was in the army. That's the reason why he went back and took on that whole platoon by himself to save his people, save his team. He, by definition, he is a patriot. Now, what broke the Punisher is his whole family died. And that was a lot to take in. Plus everything else that built up with when he was, a part of the armed forces. At least that is the persona that John Bernthal, I believe, is playing for Frank Castle, as Frank Castle. That is the version of the Punisher that we're getting. He is a broken version of what a patriot is. He is the polar opposite of a Captain America, but he is the product of his environment. He is war. He is a human war. That's what he is. But I think we had this conversation a while back ago. You can't just have someone in a dark corner, get it up, shoot, sit back down, and not have dialogue in a 40-minute show. He has to speak. He has to build relationship. If not, there's no purpose for him to be in the show.
And you can have him build relationships, and you can't. There have been runs where he's had friends. Aside from just Microchip, during the Greg Rucka run, there was a lady that was working with him as a second Punisher. You can make it work. You can have him have relationships, friendships, whatever it is. The problem that I have with what they're doing with this character now is you're right on the money on your interpretation of this version of the character. But this is the weakest version of the character. Aside from like Jason Aaron Punisher comics.
Yeah.
This is the weakest version of the character. He's not a patriot.
Yeah.
He signed up in the comics. He went to Vietnam instead of Afghanistan. They had to change stuff because of the timeline. Whatever.
Yeah.
I would have invented a new conflict that's kind of like a different version of Vietnam. If you can't have it, you need it to be in the early 2000s so that you can have the Punisher now. And so the issue with that is that you have him go to Afghanistan. Okay, well, in the original comics, he went to Vietnam. Vietnam is one of the most universally controversial conflicts. It's still argued to this day whether or not we should have been there. The people that came back were labeled all kinds of horrible things. Baby killers, just women murderers. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There was nobody that came back from that was congratulated. You think of Captain America. Captain America is the perfect antithesis to Frank Castle, because Captain America was this good old American patriot boy, signs up for the conflict, gets the super soldier serum because he's a good person, goes out to war, gets presumably killed in action. They can't find him, and he's remembered as a hero. World War II, everybody who came back that fought for America, that fought for freedom, that fought for the other people, were considered heroes. Everybody that came back from Vietnam was considered a monster. And it doesn't work if you have Frank go to the Middle East and participate in Afghanistan, because the American people generally agreed that going to Afghanistan was the right thing to do at the time, because it was in the aftermath of 9/11. So when I'm talking, the people that come back from that, some of them are demonized, but most of them, it was just a thing that happened. It was a retaliation. We got the bad guy, let's pack up and go home. And some of it was ugly. There are movies that have talked about it. You can find all kinds of documentaries, whatever. But it does not work when you think of this idea. Frank saw the horrors of war in Vietnam. And when he wanted to return to his family to get a sense of normalcy, he finally gets back. And when he thinks the war is over, the war is brought right back in front of him again. His family gets killed. He wanted to be a father. He wanted to be a normal guy. It continues to get taken from him.
Right.
If you read Punisher comics nowadays, you get this version of the character that's in the MCU. I like killing, and I'm going to vaguely disguise it with a sense of justice.
Yeah, but
it's a fundamental failure of the Punisher character.
But like you're asking for a version of the Punisher that cannot exist in his timeline. If that was the case, we should have gotten a Punisher that was in his 60s.
And that would work. If you read,
we should have got a version of him in his 60s in this particular timeline of the MCU.
And if you
no one wants to see that. No one wants to see Clint Eastwood as the Punisher.
So you say that you say that one of the best-selling Punisher runs is the Marvel Max Punisher run, where Frank aged in real time.
Like Old Man Punisher?
Yes. And it's like the Dark Knight Returns. He's just a giant brick of a human being that would just mow you down.
Okay. Like I can see that being good, but that's not. I think we would enjoy that, and I believe a couple thousands of other viewers would see that. But also, I look at it from the other side of the lens, like not as a viewer, but as a filmmaker. They got to make what works. They got to make what the masses want, not just what the fan, the comic book fan. But because comic book fans, yes, they do line the pockets of these producers to continue to make these films for us. But at the same time, it needs to make sense to the storyline. Now, if you want a Punisher that's going to last years throughout the MCU, you can't have a a Vietnam Punisher. You got to have a Punisher that's just as old as everybody else, so they can grow and age together. And I feel like that's the version. That's what they chose to do. If we're going to get a Punisher, let's say the version that you will want, then we might as well get a McDonald's yellow Daredevil as well, which would not look. We saw that in She-Hulk. Doesn't look good.
You can pick and choose. Like you and I disagree on this. Like the thing of like if you're going to be comic accurate to some of it, you have to be comic accurate to all of it. No, you can pick and choose. There are some stories that flat out suck. All right, if we're going to be honest, Spider-Man doesn't have to have 6 arms and drive a dune buggy. Okay.
Why not? That's Spider-Man.
We can skip some stupid stories. All right, and there have been some stupid stories.
That's not a stupid. Okay, the dune buggy. Yeah, that's stupid. That is stupid. Why do you need a motorcycle or a dune buggy? You're right, and then he even said, like, "Oh, this is stupid. Like, I don't need this stuff. I could whip through the city in a moment's notice. Why am I driving on the side of a building? Look at all the destruction I'm leaving behind me. Not practical. Sorry, Mr. Fantastic. By the way, towards the ending of this, I do want to talk about. You see the second trailer?
I did.
Let's talk about that in a moment. Let's just after this, let's kind of wrap up the Daredevil, because after that, we put it to rest, and we'll talk about it next year.
I got one more thing to jump in on when it comes to the Punisher.
Go ahead. Let me hear what you got to say about this.
This is
the Punisher, guys. This guy, you're heartbroken.
I am, because if they're ruining the character, I'm just going to call it. They're ruining
the character.
Ruining the character. Yes.
All right.
So I'm gonna just my final word when it comes to this version of the character. You said that they want to do what's going to be popular for the masses, and this is my controversial opinion. Most people don't like the Punisher. They think they like the Punisher because they've only ever gotten different ideas of it from other people. Most people don't know what he's about. They don't know about the mission of justice. And to be quite frank, if you were to I didn't even mean to make a pun on that. If you were to translate the comics into actual television, I think a lot of people would not watch it.
Yeah.
Except for the genuine fans. Most people would be horrified at what they would see because it would show such a dark side of the real world. It would just be an ugly, like nobody wants to look at like human trafficking and stuff like that. But that's where the Punisher operates, is in those dark corners of the world where he can be justice. And so then, to bring us back to Daredevil, they teamed up because Karen called him.
Yeah.
Why would Karen call him?
Crying like all the time.
She actually didn't cry.
She looked like she was holding it back though. Every episode, she just cries.
But she called Frank and asked for a favor.
Yeah.
She doesn't like that Frank kills people. Why would she call him for anything?
Because she loves Matt Murdock. She loves him too much.
What was that when they went to the evidence lockup and Matt talks about he could hear their heartbeats? Like there's some weird Karen likes Frank, but Karen also likes Matt, and it's like, what are we doing?
Well, as in you don't understand it, or as in that was a stupid
no, I do understand it. Are we gonna do a love triangle?
Well,
don't do that.
Matt Murdock is jealous. They were dating before Froggy died. And so there's feelings there. But at the same time, whenever you saw Karen Page and Frank Castle in the Netflix version, Frank Castle has a soft spot. He always has he develops a soft spot for people. One is with Karen Page, and the other one was with that one girl that reminded him of his daughter. In the last season, was it the last season of Punisher?
Yeah, season 2 of the Punisher.
I thought she was fucking stupid. I thought she was very immature. Brat. Yeah. There was a moment in the scene where I was like, this girl doesn't get it. You're dealing with a killer. He is a bad guy. He just has a soft spot. And I like that about the Punisher. Punisher is not nor good or bad. He's not vengeance. He's not justice. He is. He's a loaded gun, and he's best used to be just pointing him in a direction. I feel as though that's the only way you can build story with today's Punisher. Now it's just to the point, if you're going to constantly try to, get back to people who murdered your family, you're now just a serial killer. You're just going to go on, walk life, and kill people, kill people, kill people. You are now a serial killer. No matter how you look at it, you're not a good guy. You're not even a villain. You are a maniac. You're crazy.
Are you the spokesperson for Marvel Editorial?
No, I'm definitely not. But give the man more story. There has to be.
And he's had them.
You want growth. Well, he's not growing as a character as long as he's just constantly trying to do vengeance of his family. What is he, a poor Batman?
Well, he's a cautionary tale. You don't relate to the nobody should have to relate to the Punisher.
Yeah, you're right. You're very right about that.
The point of it is that you could have, like I was talking about, this old man Punisher opposite Daredevil that is now going through this desire to kill.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, in his older age, Frank just doesn't care anymore. He's like, you don't want to kill him? Fine. Bang.
Yeah, he's Dark Knight Return.
And for me...
he's Batman. He is old man Batman now.
But it would give Matt, Frank would not teach Matt to not kill. He wouldn't talk him out of it. But Matt could look at him and say, this is what lies in store for me if I give in to this.
That's not true. That is so untrue. Captain America, when he was teamed up with Captain America in the comic book, Punisher looks up to Captain America, actually.
Yes. That's the reason why he joined the war in Vietnam.
I value you. I strive to be you. And then they team up, and Punisher sprays down an entire room, kills everybody. Captain America turns to him like, what are you doing? And proceeds to beat him up. And then Captain America goes, how come you're not fighting me back? You're so big and bad. He goes, because I respect you. So, yes, Punisher is a killer by nature, in his heart of hearts, by just natural intentions. No. He's a killer. He can't help it. He can't help it. He just chooses to not care. He can help it. You're right. He can. He just chooses to do it.
Yeah,
it's
he
a
chooses
choice.
to do it in a pursuit of justice.
But he's Peacemaker. Ooh. And on that note, we're gonna wrap up. We're gonna wrap up the Daredevil Born Again, and stay tuned to our next podcast where we're going to talk about the review and recap of the Fantastic Four trailers, because the newest one just came out. I'm Rico. This is my main man Cody, and this is Comic Talk. Peace.
Reflection Comics. What's up is us again, cracking bags, pulling boards. Every page has got them leaning like the Flash, running forward. This that absolutely about to break it down in the store. By the end you looking like you were Galactus. More, I need more for the culture. Grab the hammer, now I'm Thor. Got the red like Matt Murdock on the path I gotta forge. Culture, comics, adamantium all in my speech to cut the nonsense. This Reflection Comics, Rico with that frio, make the Batman see his breath. This that riddle me, where else you gonna find these lyrics fresh? Got these tubes all pressing venom, break the bat over my leg. Pull a couple moves to cobble up the power in my step. Yo, this is the part I go bury, I'm all in, I'm out and I'm smashing like that. He is spinning like captain, spell it out for you like an enchantress. Chomping demons with this soul sword like a magic. Comics, topics, geek culture, madness. This Reflection Comics, so comment, kick it and grab this. New issue, no issues, reflection. Through this dude, we live through dimensions. Reflection Comics, the comic shop that's ascending. Mask on as I glide off like I'm vengeance. Another nobody named Carlos. Go check out Reflection Comics. Local Punta Gorda, Florida comic shop, podcast, YouTube, TikTok, and 3D print shop.